The dust storm came fast and heavy over the red plains of Colony Planet. Exora 9 winds howled across the outpost as sharp grains of sand slammed into the domes inside the control center. Lights flickered and the comms crackled with static. Jake Marshall had left the outpost just 20 minutes before the storm hit. He was a field engineer, one of the best, sent to fix a broken antenna on the far ridge. He promised to be back before sundown, but now the sun had vanished behind the storm wall. And Jake's signal was gone. The team stared at the screen in silence. Then someone spoke. "Check the body cam feed." The screen lit up. Jake's point of view appeared. He was walking along the ridge. The wind grew stronger. His voice came through the audio. "Can't see anything. Going to anchor myself and wait this one out then." The sound changed. There was a hum, low and deep, almost musical. Jake turned his head toward the sound. The image showed nothing, just swirling dust and flashes of golden light. Then came a strange flicker, like the air itself was folding. Jake's voice returned. "What is that? What the hell is that?" Then the video cut off. The feed stopped mid-breath and silence filled the room. No one moved. No one spoke. The screen went dark. Jake Marshall had vanished. Jake's mind returned before his eyes did. He felt warmth and pressure. His arms were pinned, his chest tight. He gasped. Thick liquid filled his lungs. He kicked hard, then broke through a soft wall that tore open with a wet sound. Fell forward and hit the ground, coughing, spitting out the strange fluid. His hands shook as he tried to stand. He was alive. But not on Exora 9 anymore. The place around him was dark. Walls pulsed with a soft glow like living skin. They throbbed and moved like they were breathing. The floor was warm under his feet, sticky, organic. He looked up and saw them. Figures. In the shadows, tall, thin, insect-like. They had long limbs and glowing eyes that blinked with eerie rhythm. Their faces were masks of alien mystery. They stood still, watching. Silent. Jake backed away. His heart pounded. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Then he heard it. Not through his ears, but inside his mind. "Do not fear." The voice was calm, smooth, female, powerful. From the far end of the chamber, a figure approached. The watchers stepped aside, their heads lowered in respect. She moved with grace and strength. Her body shimmered with golden armor that looked grown, not built. Her wings sparkled with living light. She was tall, much taller than Jake, but it was her eyes that froze him in place. Eyes filled with knowledge, pain, and power. She stopped before him. He tried to speak. His voice failed again. Then the voice returned inside him. "You are awake. That is good. You are not harmed." Jake clenched his fists. "Where am I? What are you? Why did you take Mesh?" Tilted her head. "Your questions will be answered in time." He stepped back. "Don't come closer. Let me go." Now she didn't move. The walls around her shimmered, glowed brighter. And then her voice filled him again. "You were chosen among many. Your body carries the seed of survival. Your strength, your blood, your human soul. It can save what remains of my kind." Jake stared at her, breathing hard. His voice came out raw. "What do you mean?" She stepped closer, still calm, still silent with her mouth, but her voice filled his skull. "You will seed the next generation of my kind. You will bond with me, not by force, by nature, by destiny." Jake's hands trembled, his muscles tightened. His skin crawled. He looked around. The chamber was alive. It felt ancient, like a temple or a tomb, and they were all watching him, waiting, silent, not blinking. His mind screamed. He stepped forward, stared right into the queen's glowing eyes. Then something changed. His fear twisted into anger. His confusion hardened into fire. He didn't care if she was a queen. Didn't care if her species was dying. Didn't care if her hive worshipped him like a savior. He was human. He was not hers. Jake's eyes burned with rage. His thoughts slammed into hers like a hammer. "I am not yours." Jake stood tall in front of her, his body still shaking, but his mind clear now. He had shouted in silence, and she had heard him. Queen stepped back slowly. The glow around her faded. Her wings folded behind her like silk drawn tight. Then she turned and walked away. Not a word in his mind. No command, no threat. Jake stood there, breathing fast, hands clenched. The silent watchers around him did not move, but the walls of the chamber pulsed again, like they had understood his refusal too of the smaller creatures moved forward, not drones, not guards, something else. Their bodies were slim, covered in soft yellow fur. Their eyes blinked slowly, and they carried no weapons. One of them touched his arm gently. Jake pulled back. The creature didn't react. It simply turned and motioned for him to follow. He had no choice. He looked around. No exits, no escape, only that narrow path they now led him down. He followed, not because he trusted them, but because he wanted answers, and maybe a way out. The tunnel was alive. Its walls glowed with moving light, like veins of gold beneath a living surface. He touched the wall once. It felt warm like skin. It even twitched under his fingers. He pulled back quickly. This wasn't a structure. This was a living system. An organism the size of a city. After some time, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber, a dome so large he could not see the ceiling. Thousands of hexagonal cells stretched along the curved walls, each glowing with a dim, soft light, each pulsing slowly like it held something inside. Jake stepped forward, then stopped. He heard voices, but not in his ears. They whispered deep in his thoughts, not words. Feelings, fears, memories. They weren't his. He turned sharply and saw her again. The queen stood in the center of the chamber, this time alone. She looked different. Smaller somehow, less glowing, less terrifying, more real. He stepped toward her, his voice finally working again. Why me? Why humans? Why not your own kind? Her answer came slowly, not in force, but in pain. My kind is dying. We were once many. Now only one. Queen remains. Mesh walked slowly around him, not circling like a predator, but pacing like someone thinking out loud. Our eggs hatch without minds, without spirit. They scream when born, then fall silent forever. No thoughts, no will, only empty bodies. Jake's throat tightened. He looked again at the thousands of glowing cells. Are they all empty? Are they all your children? She nodded. Once I have tried with every race we found. None could give life to thought. None could give voice to the next generation until your kind. Jake blinked. What did you find in us? The queen turned to him fully. Your soul. He looked away. Soul. He had heard that word all his life, never truly believed in it. Now an alien queen used it like fact. You say I'm the key, but why me? I'm no soldier, no leader. I fix broken machines. She stepped closer. Her wings shimmered with gentle light. That is why you are perfect. You fix what is broken, not just machines. Your memories, your pain, your scars. They teach you how to heal. He frowned. What do you know about my pain? She reached out, touched his temple lightly, and suddenly he was falling. His knees hit a different floor, not the Hive, a hospital room. He saw his mother lying in bed, wires on her arms, machines beeping. He was younger, just 15, holding her hand, begging her not to leave. He cried. He screamed. She smiled one last time, and the light in her eyes faded. The memory faded with it. Jake was back on his knees, breathing hard. He looked up and saw her eyes wet with something like tears. I felt that. She whispered inside him. I feel you. Jake pulled away, angry, scared. How did you do that? Get out of my head. She stepped back. I did not go in. You let it out. Your soul speaks loud, even when your mouth stays closed. He stood up slowly, still shaking. What do you want from me? Be honest. What exactly do you expect me to do? She lowered her head. To bond, to give life, not just through your body, but through your spirit. The next generation will carry you, not just your blood, but your heart. Jake turned away. This was too much, too strange, too heavy. He wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. He looked again at the glowing cells. He imagined them filled with silence, screaming silence, and he saw her, this powerful being, completely alone. Thousands born, none alive. He didn't know what to feel. He hated being taken, hated this place, but he also felt something else, a pull, a question. What if she was telling the truth? What if he really could fix what was broken? He faced her again. If I help, it's not because you chose me. It's because I chose to try understand. That the queen stepped forward slowly. She did not speak, but she bowed her head. The entire hive pulsed once, as if it had heard him, and for the first time Jake did not feel like a prisoner. He felt like a guest, maybe even something more. Jake woke to a strange sound, a low hum that rose and fell like a song. It came not from his ears, but from deep within the walls around him. Chamber had changed overnight, no longer cold and silent. It felt alive, awake. Watching he stood, noticing. Something new, a strange symbol glowing on the wall, shapes he didn't understand. But somehow they felt familiar. Then the Queen's voice returned soft inside his mind. You have accepted. Now the Hive must accept you. Jake looked around. What is that? Mean what now? She appeared in the doorway, still graceful, still glowing faintly, but her face was serious. You must pass the trials of will. The Hive remembers all, and it must see who you truly are. Jake frowned. Trials? What kind of trials? The walls around him shifted. The floor beneath his feet grew warm, and then it vanished. He fell not through space, but through memory. He landed in dirt. Not Hive floor, but earth soil. The sun blazed overhead. He blinked, confused, then looked around. A battlefield, explosions. In the distance, screams, flashes of gunfire. He knew this place. The colony war on Titan V. He was there. Only a boy fresh out of training. They had sent him to fix a comms tower. He had ended up dragging 3 dying soldiers out of fire. He turned and saw them again. His squad, young, bleeding, calling his name. He ran to them, but their faces changed. Their eyes turned black, their mouths stretched too wide. They spoke in the Queen's voice. Will you relive your pain? Will you face what broke you? Stepped back, shouting, this isn't real. This was years ago, but the wounds were real. The screams were real. The smoke burned his lungs. Just like before, he knelt beside his friend, watched him take his last breath, the same way he had 10 years ago. Stood, his fists clenched, his jaw tight. I faced this before, and I survived. You want truth? Here it is. I never forgot, and I never stopped fighting. The memory cracked. The battlefield shattered like glass, and he stood once more in the Hive. The Queen watched silently. You passed the first, but there are more. The floor shifted again, and he fell, this time, into silence. A cold bedroom, dark rain tapped on the windows. He stood before a bed. Someone lay there, still small. He knew who it was. His sister Maya. She had died in her sleep, sick for years. He had promised her he'd fix her, but he couldn't. Stepped closer, tears already rising. Her voice came soft and broken. You said you'd save me, but you didn't. Jake shook. That wasn't her voice. Not truly. But it cut deeper than any blade. The room spun, walls bending. He fell to his knees. I tried. I did everything. I was only 17. The walls cracked. The rain turned to light, and then she stood before him, not sick, not broken, smiling. She whispered one word, forgiven, and vanished. Jake rose slowly, breathing hard, heart pounding. The Queen stood again in front of him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. You carry so much pain, but you use it to protect others. That is rare. That is strength. Jake's voice was low. What do you want from me? To keep reliving every moment I failed. She stepped closer. No, I want to see the shape of your soul, and you have shown it. Then the final trial came, but this one was different. The Hive turned white, blinding light surrounded him, and he was no longer human. He looked at his hands, thin, insect-like, golden light pulsing through his veins. He was inside a new body. Not his own, but part of the Hive. He felt every wall, every pulse, every whisper. He felt their hunger, their fear, the empty cries of eggs that would never think, never grow. He felt the Queen's loneliness. It cut deeper than anything he had felt before. Hundreds of years alone, carrying a species on her back, watching every child die before learning to speak. He felt her sorrow, her guilt, her silence. Then he felt something else, her hope, and it pointed at him. Jake gasped. The vision ended. He stood once more in the chamber, sweating, shaking. The Queen stood in silence. No words now, just eyes. Jake spoke softly. You're not just trying to survive. You're trying to love again, through your children. She nodded, her wings folded inwards. Her body dimmed. He stepped forward. Then you need more than my body. You need my heart, my memories, my pain, my will, and I'll give it, if you promise me one thing. The Queen looked up. What? You'll never force this again. Not on me. Not on anyone. Only those who choose it. The Hive pulsed around them. A deep, silent breath. Then she lowered her head. I promise. Jake stepped forward, placed his hand on her arm. Then let's start together. The chamber lights pulsed dim blue as Jake opened his eyes. He was lying on a soft bed of woven organic threads. The air was thick but breathable. It no longer smelled strange. He was getting used to it, and that scared him more than anything. He sat up. The room was empty. No guards, no watchers, only silence. But something felt wrong. Too quiet, too still. Then he heard the sound, a heavy thump. Then another far away, then closer. He stood quickly. The walls trembled, not with warmth, but with fear. Suddenly, a figure entered the room. Not the queen, not the soft-furred workers. This one was different, taller. Hardened shell eyes glowing red instead of blue. It spoke inside his mind. But there was no kindness in its voice. You were not meant to live. You were meant to be harvested. Jake stepped back. What is this? Who are you? The figure moved forward. We are the council. The ones who kept the hive alive when the queen forgot her purpose. She has lost her way. You are a threat to our purity. Jake clenched his fists. She chose me. I didn't ask for any of this. The council drone moved closer. Then she is weak, and she will be replaced. Before Jake could respond, another tremor shook the chamber, and from the walls, more drones began to crawl out, each one armored. Eyes glowing red, not like the soft golden eyes of the queen's loyal ones. He was surrounded. He looked for a way out. None, he shouted inside his mind. Queen, where are you? No answer came. The drones moved forward. Two grabbed his arms, rough hands, no care, no emotion. They began pulling him out of the chamber. Where are you taking me? Jake demanded to be disassembled, studied, used. The voice came with no feeling, no hesitation. Jake struggled, kicked, fought, but they were too strong. He was dragged through winding tunnels. The hive no longer pulsed with gold. Now the light was cold, pale green, empty. He was thrown into a dark cell. The walls sealed shut and the silence returned, but this time it was filled with fear. He paced, breathing hard, thinking, planning. He couldn't just wait here. He had to do something, anything. Then he heard it, faint but familiar, the queen's voice. Do not move. Help is coming. Then the wall behind him cracked open. Two soft-furred workers appeared, the same ones from his first day. They motioned him to follow. Quick, no words. He ran behind them, through tight tunnels, through dripping corridors, each one shaking under distant explosions. A civil war had started, and it was because of him. They reached a chamber with high walls and open air. Dozens of golden-eyed hive workers were gathered. They were frightened, but ready, and in the center, the queen. Her wings were spread wide. Her light was dim, but her presence was still powerful. Jake rushed to her side. What's happening? What are they doing? She turned slowly, her eyes tired, but calm. They want to destroy you and me. They believe purity must be preserved. They see bonding as weakness. They see you as contamination. Jake looked around, then looked back at her. Then we fight. The queen blinked. You would fight for me. Even now. Jake stepped forward. I made a choice, and I don't break my word. A deep roar echoed through the hive. The wall exploded near the edge of the chamber. Red-eyed drones poured in. The golden-eyed ones rushed forward to meet them. No weapons, only strength and unity. Jake grabbed a staff from the wall. He didn't even know what it was, but it pulsed when he held it. He charged. The chamber became chaos. Screams, crashes, flashes of energy. Jake fought beside the queen's people, swinging, blocking, pushing back. For a moment, he felt alive, more than he had in years, not because of violence, but because he was protecting something real. He looked up and saw the queen standing still, her wings glowing, her eyes locked on the attackers. Then she lifted her hands and light burst from her chest. It spread across the hive, a wave of sound and memory. The red-eyed drones froze one by one. They staggered, shook, and fell. The queen collapsed. Jake ran to her, caught her before she hit the ground. What did you do? He whispered. She looked up, weak but smiling. I showed them truth. I opened the hive's memory. They saw everything, our history, our failure, our pain, and our hope. Jake helped her sit against the wall. She closed her eyes, resting. The chamber was quiet now, only breathing, only life. The hive pulsed again, but now it pulsed with warmth. Jake looked around. He was no longer an outsider. He had fought for them, bled for them, and they had chosen to believe in him. The queen spoke again, soft but steady. The rebellion is over. You are no longer a guest. You are part of the Hive now. Jake nodded, then looked toward the future. This wasn't just survival. This was change, and it had only just begun. The Hive was healing. The war had ended just hours ago. Broken walls were being mended. Cracked pathways were closing, and the air smelled different now, not of fear, but of renewal. Jake stood alone at the edge of the central chamber, watching the golden glow return to the heart of the Hive. The warmth spread slowly, touching every wall, every corridor, every memory. He closed his eyes, letting it wash over him. He had survived the rebellion, fought for a species that had once kidnapped him. Now he was something else, not a prisoner, not just a guest. He was part of this place, and something was changing deep inside him. The queen appeared behind him, her presence as gentle as the wind. She spoke without words, but he felt it all the same. Come with me. It is time. He turned to face her. Her body glowed softly, but her eyes looked different, not tired, not commanding, but open, almost shy. Jake followed her through a long hallway. The walls smooth, the lights dim, no other drones in sight. At the end of the corridor, a chamber opened. He stepped inside and stopped. The room was unlike any other in the Hive. The walls shimmered like water. The air was thick with scent, sweet, warm, alive. In the center of the room, a platform pulsed with golden veins above it. A gentle beam of light fell from the ceiling, like sunlight from a distant sky. The queen stepped into the light. This is the Nexus, the oldest part of the Hive, the place where creation begins. Jake looked around. What happens here? She held out her hand, and her voice came not loud, but trembling slightly. The bond, if you still wish to give it, begins now. Jake hesitated, not because he was afraid, but because he understood what this truly meant. Now this wasn't about science. It wasn't about DNA. This was about connection, deeper than any he had ever known. He stepped into the light, stood before her, looking into her eyes. They were no longer alien. They were full of sorrow, of hope, of memories she had carried for too long. He reached out, took her hand. It was warm, almost human. What do I do? He asked. Nothing, she whispered inside his mind. Just let go. The chamber responded. Lights pulsed, walls softened, and then their minds touched. It was not physical, it was not even visible, but Jake felt it, a rush of emotion, a flood of memory. He saw her past, a child among a million, raised in light, chosen to be queen by fate, not by desire. He saw her growth, her fear, her loneliness, the endless silence of a dying species. He saw her firstborn, born without thought, without spark, falling still after only hours. She had cried, not with tears, but with song, a song that never reached any ears. Jake felt her break, again and again, every cycle, every egg, every silence. Then he showed her his pain, his first love, gone without warning. His mother, his sister, all the lives he tried to fix, but failed. He showed her the war, the blood, the guilt, and he showed her his anger, his rage at the universe, at being chosen, at being dragged into something he never asked for. She saw it all, and she did not turn away. Instead, she pulled him deeper together. They stood in a place between thought and form. Not Hive, not Earth, just light. She reached forward, touched his chest, and whispered one final truth. You are not here to save me. You are here to save us both. The light filled him, rushed through every cell, every thought, and then it was over. Jake opened his eyes. He was still in the Nexus, still holding her hand, but he felt different, not just in his mind, in his body. He could feel the Hive now, hear the walls breathing, sense the hearts of the workers, even the silent dreams of the unborn. He looked at her. What happens now? She stepped closer and smiled. They began to grow behind her. The floor shifted. A new pod rose slowly from the ground. Inside it, a soft blue glow. He stepped forward. The pod pulsed gently. He placed his hand on the surface. He felt life inside, new life, not just alien, not just human, both. The queen spoke softly, gently. They carry your strength, your memories, your fire, but also my song, my purpose, my hope. Jake looked at her, eyes filled with quiet awe. And you? What do you feel? She stepped closer, looked up at him. I feel alive. He nodded. then whispered, "So do I." They stood in silence. Not because there was nothing to say, but because everything had already been shared. No words could explain it. No science could define it. This was the bond not forced, not taken, given freely by two broken souls, building something that had never existed before together. The hive glowed like never before, warm, alive, peaceful. Soft lights pulsed along the walls. The air carried a low hum, almost like a lullaby. Jake walked down the corridor in silence. His hand rested gently on one of the walls, and it responded, not with words, but with feeling. The hive knew him now, and he knew the hive since the bond. Everything had changed. He could feel the growth deep inside the nesting chambers, new pods forming, new life stirring. Not human, not alien, something else, something new, a generation. Born not just from his body, but from his emotions, his strength, his willingness to give, and her need to feel again. Entered the nursery. Rows of glowing pods lined the floor, each one pulsing with slow blue light. The workers moved quietly between them, watching, tending, protecting. One pod was larger than the rest. It pulsed with a golden light, and Jake could feel it from across the room. This one, the queen said softly in his mind, was the first. He stepped closer, placed his hand on the surface. It was warm, and inside he felt the tiny spark of consciousness, not empty, not lost, but alive and aware. He smiled. This was real. They had done it together, but peace never lasted long. The hive shook, not from within, but from above. The walls rumbled, lights flickered, the hum turned sharp. Jake turned to the queen. What was that? She was already moving, her wings glowing, her eyes narrow with focus. The sky, she whispered. They have come high above the hive. The clouds broke open, and from orbit a ship descended, massive, angular, covered in human markings. Earth fleet. Jake recognized the design instantly. He had seen that ship class before. War class, planet ready, strike equipped. Followed the queen to the observation chamber, a hollow spire that opened to the sky there. Through the energy veil, he saw it. The ship hovered silently, scanning, waiting. A signal reached him, his neural implants still active, still connected to Earth systems. Jake, this is Commander Rhodes. We know you're alive. We want you to come home. He closed his eyes. So many memories returned with that voice. Training, missions, loss. He answered back, his voice steady and alive. But I'm not coming back. There was silence. Then the voice returned. Jake, this isn't a request. Your life readings were picked up months ago. We've monitored hive activity. We've seen your genetic data. You're not just involved, you're bonded. That's a violation of every treaty we have. Jake took a breath, then answered, they're not the monsters you think. They needed help. I gave it. Rhodes replied, that's not your call. That hive is classified as dangerous. You're coming home, or we'll shut it down ourselves. Jake looked at the queen, her face calm, but her eyes full of sadness. She spoke inside his thoughts. You must choose. I will not stop you, but they will destroy all of this. He stepped forward, looked up at the ship, and sent his final message. You fire, you kill the future, you kill something we made, not something we stole. Rhodes sounded tired now. You're under the influence. You've been compromised. This is not the Jake we knew. Jake's voice grew stronger. This is the real me, the one who sees past fear, the one who chose life over control. A pause followed, then the voice changed. You've got 1 hour to surrender, or we open fire. The signal ended. The sky darkened. Jake turned to the queen. They're going to attack. They think I've lost my mind, that I betrayed my species. She placed a hand on his chest and whispered, what do you believe? He looked around. At the hive, at the pods, at the workers tending the newborns, at the drones repairing the cracks from the past war. Then he looked at Harry. Believe this is my family now. She nodded once, then spoke. Then we defend it. Together. The hive changed again. Walls tightened, energy fields activated. The workers moved with new speed. No panic, only purpose. Jake was given a suit, not armor, but living fabric. It formed around his body, light and flexible, connected directly to the hive's energy. He felt its heartbeat, its pain, its determination. The queen took her place in the core, her wings folded, her light steady. She was calm, even now. Outside, the ship charged its weapons. Energy built across its surface. Powerful, unstoppable Jake stood on the outer ledge, alone. A single human against a weaponized sky. He opened his channel one last time. "Please don't do this." No reply. The ship fired. The beam struck the Hive shield. It cracked, but held. The Hive screamed, not with sound, but with light, with memory, with truth. Every wall began to glow. The Queen channeled her strength, not through violence, but through memory transmission. She sent Earth everything: Jake's trials, the Hive's loss, the bonding, the birth of new life, flooded the ship's systems, overriding visual feed, injecting emotion into the screens. For the first time, the crew felt what Jake felt. They saw her pain. They saw the unborn. They saw the hope. The weapons powered down. Silence followed. Then a signal came. "Jake, we see it. We understand. We will not fire." Again Jake lowered his head, relieved. The Hive sighed. The Queen stood, her light warm again. "You saved them." She said. "No," Jake replied. "We saved each other." The sky returned to silence. The warship hovered far above, weapons offline, engines quiet. No more threats. No more commands, just stillness inside the Hive. The glow had softened. The walls relaxed. The heartbeat of the structure calmed. Jake stood near the observation ledge. Wind brushed his face, soft, warm. He watched as Earthfleet ship began to rise, slow, graceful, pulling away from the atmosphere. Returning to the stars, he opened his comm channel one last time. "Thank you for seeing the truth, choosing peace." The voice that replied was calm. "We saw your memories, felt your pain and hers. They were real. More real than any report we ever read. You'll be monitored, of course, but we will not harm this place. We understand now." The signal ended. Jake stood in silence. The Queen approached. Her wings shimmered with soft blue light. Her presence calm. He turned to her, and for the first time, he smiled without fear. "It's over," he said. "No," she answered. "It has only begun." They walked together through the heart of the Hive, past the nursery chambers, past the glowing pods. Now brighter than ever, new life stirred inside them, not just genetically formed, but emotionally charged, born from memory, from will, from connection. Workers moved with joy, their movements lighter, their tasks full of rhythm. They hummed together, a song of welcome, a song of beginning. The Queen paused beside one of the pods. "This one is strong," she said. "Like you." Jake placed his hand on it. Inside, he felt the new mind forming, soft, curious, balanced between two worlds. "What will they be?" he asked. She looked at him. "Not human, not Hive, something more. Something that can understand both." He nodded. The thought filled him with a strange warmth. Pride, wonder, responsibility. The Queen turned toward the inner chamber. "I have something to show you." They entered the sacred chamber, the place where all memories were stored. A wall of living crystal rose before them. Thousands of glowing shapes, each one a memory, a truth, a lesson. She touched the surface, and it changed. Now a new memory grew in the center. His memory, their memory. Jake and the Queen standing hand in hand, surrounded by light, bound not by law but by choice. It shimmered, then locked into place. "The Hive remembers," she said. Jake reached out, touched the memory. It felt real, alive. "I never thought I'd be part of something like this," he whispered. She stepped closer. "You didn't just become part of it. You helped shape." I've looked at her, and for the first time he didn't see a queen. He didn't see an alien. He saw someone like him, someone who carried pain, who found healing, and chose hope. The moment stretched, quiet, honest. Then she spoke again. "You can return to Earth now. They will allow it. Your people want you back." Jake looked away. The idea felt distant, like a dream he once lived, but no longer needed. "They do. But I don't." "This," he said, looking around. "This is where I belong." The Queen stepped forward. "You may one day choose both, live in both worlds, speak for both." Jake smiled. "Maybe. But right now this is home." Outside, the Hive opened wide. Sunlight poured in, real sunlight. For the first time in months, the storm clouds had vanished. Jake walked to the ledge below. He saw the workers guiding new hatchlings, the drones teaching, the pods opening, soft eyes blinking. For the first time, he saw a future forming, not of war, not of fear, but of understanding. Behind him, the Queen stood tall, wings spread wide. "You gave us more than survival. You gave us purpose, he turned back to her, and you gave me something I didn't know I needed, a place to belong. They stood together as the sun rose over the new Hive, two beings from different worlds. Bound by choice, by courage, by trust, the wind carried their silence across the golden plains, a silence full of meaning, full of life, a silence that spoke louder than any words. The future had arrived, and it began here. Jake looked to the sky and whispered one final truth. Humanity didn't conquer the galaxy. We became something greater.